Well, welcome to Voices of Women. I'm Chris Stanis, your host, and I'm also the founder of Women of Wisdom Foundation in Seattle, Washington. We are getting ready for our 29th annual Women of Wisdom Conference. It's March 11th through the 14th, and for the very first time, it's virtual, like everything else at this time is now. So we invite you to join us. You can find out our schedule at womenofwisdom.org. We have two special guests for our evenings, who are Louisa Teach and Terry Tempest Williams. So we're so excited to have them. So today I'm going to interview one of our workshop presenters, Robin Maynard Dobbs. She's giving a workshop on Friday, March 12th. It's on Sovereign and Sensitive, Discover the Secret Behind Your Overeating. So Robin Maynard Dobbs is the founder of Becoming Lighter, a new paradigm in health and wellness coaching. For the past 30 years, Robin has used her skills as a certified counselor, hypnotherapist, health coach, and advanced EFT practitioner to help hundreds of women who struggle with their relationship to food and to their body size. She guides women to release the burden of heavy emotions and to develop a loving partnership with their bodies. She's also an artist, a fabulous artist, on a mission to shift the perception of healthy eating as boring and tedious to appreciate the beauty and delight inherent in ordinary fruits and vegetables. So she opens the possibility that we can experience food with joy and a light heart and thus become lighter on all levels, integrating our body, mind, and spirit. So welcome, Robin.
Thank you, Chris. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, tell us about your journey and what led you to this. I mean, you've been at it for 30 years, but there's always something in your life that leads you to your purpose and your mission.
And for sure there was for me, because I've been sensitive all my life. As a child, my siblings would, go out and roughhouse and, be really wild in some ways. And I would be in my room, reading fairy tales and myths. And I just kind of sheltered myself, I just found that everything bothered me, noises bothered me, crowds, scratchy fabric on my skin. I was very sensitive to pain. So I always thought there was something wrong with me, Chris, forever. And it wasn't until later on when I read the book that some of you may know about by Elaine Aron, who wrote a book called The Highly Sensitive Person. And it described me to the T. Every characteristics, I'm going, oh, I am not alone, which was a revelation and really helped to undo the shame, because that is a big thing for most of us who are sensitive, is we think there's something wrong. Yeah.
Yes. So did you then do overeating too? Is that a problem for you?
Yeah, I totally did. Yeah, especially when I was in college, I would, oh my God, I would bake loaves of bread and then eat one and not stop. And then I would run 7 miles to make sure I didn't gain weight. So that was that kind of bulimia, really. So, but I didn't know it at the time that the overeating was serving a purpose, It was serving to keep, and I'll talk a little more about this, of course, it was serving to keep me from feeling so incredibly, what would it be, just totally bombarded by stimulation, And so I definitely had my share of compulsive eating that I'm definitely have shifted. So.
Yeah, I know you're nice and slim. But you talk about being sensitive and how would people know that they are sensitive? I mean, you discovered it for yourself, but it took some self-analyzing, really doing that inward journey of what am I feeling and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. An inward journey, but also it's very helpful for those of us who are sensitive to notice what qualities are traits. And there are 4 main ones. Depth of processing. So that means that we are just very deep thinkers. So we're just diving deep. We're not content with the surface, chit chat. It's like the deeper cognitive ability really dives in. The other one is being overstimulated overwhelms us. So if things are just coming in intensely, it's easy to get overwhelmed. which includes the third aspect, which is we're empathetic.
Mm.
So those of us who feel the joy and pain, and we can step into a room and feel if there's been an argument there. We can
Mhm.
sense the energy. And it's kind of like the fourth is basically, it's like you're living in Technicolor. You know, everything is intense. So the other piece around highly sensitive is yes, all of our five senses are on alert, but we also are attuned to the sixth sense, which is our intuition, clairvoyance, reading the field and sensing, one of the big gifts that we have, which I will definitely be talking about in our workshop, is the incredible ability for us to be connected to others because we feel so deeply. So it can be an incredible gift, but we have to manage and respect and honor, the tenderness inside us and protect it. And that's what I'll be talking about as well.
Mhm.
And by the way, one other thing
Yeah.
is about 30% of us are extroverts. We think of our as sensitive being introverts, but no, 30% are extroverts. Other thing is equal amount of men and women are sensitive,
Hmm.
which a sensitive man, that's a little tricky in this society, in
Hmm.
our macho society. And the other thing is we found that 20% of the population are sensitive. So what that means is we found they've done research and they've done a fascinating study where they found that in herding animals, 20% of the herd are sensitive, which means they can alert the others of danger before the others feel it.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
The animal kingdom is fascinating. Well, and now we're going through a very particularly interesting time, I'll call it, with this pandemic,
Yeah.
and how challenging it's been for a lot of people. And I would imagine even more challenging for those who are sensitive.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because it's important to acknowledge that our sensitivities heighten the challenges, really, because for a couple of reasons. One is, first of all, we are in a household, right? So for if you're not alone, but you're with other people, you're feeling their energy,
Mm.
and there is no escape, right? Like there's not as many distractions. We have some, but not really. So whatever anxiety they're taking in, it may not be yours. You're feeling
True.
it.
And that's one of the things to learn, is it my energy or somebody else's? And part of that is, and I think you talk about, the boundaries of understanding, where your boundary ends and where somebody else's. And it's really paying attention, like, where is this thought coming from? What am I feeling? To determine if it's yours or, oh, maybe that's somebody else. And it could even be somebody in our head, our mother who's already passed away many years ago, but
Yeah.
that voice is still in our head. Is she talking to me?
And you brought up a really important piece, Chris, because sometimes we are very sensitive to anything that feels like bombardment from the outside, stimulation, but it's our internal dialogue,
Mm.
like you say, that often keeps the shame going. And we don't even know it because we're so used to beating ourselves up. And as sensitives, we already have this input. Oh, there's something wrong with you, you know. Um, and by the way, if you are ever called too sensitive, it's kind of like calling yourself, your eyes are too blue, right? Your eye. So you can't do anything about it. It's the way you're wired.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just needing to accept and honor and respect. And again, what we'll be doing is just ways to, value your unique characteristics.
Yes, that's so important. And yeah, and especially women, oh, you're too emotional, you're too sensitive.
Right.
And then it's discounting what you are feeling inside. And then you discount yourself of what what I'm feeling must not be valid. Um,
Right.
So, what can you give for listeners now, like how to create boundaries for themselves to overcome these issues of being overwhelmed, of
Mhm.
knowing that they're sensitive, and um,
Yeah.
yeah, what can you share with people?
Yes, and I'd love to share this. I'm going to give you 3 steps of a practice that I do often and that I found that my clients have been really supported by. And we'll do it right now, Chris, if you're okay
Yeah.
with that, because I would like everyone who is listening to be doing it with us. And so you can get a taste of what it's like to honor and respect your sensitivities and work with them. So the very first thing, as soon as you feel like the something just came in, hit you strong, and a lot of times you can tell by it's the fight or flight getting activated. So your heart is racing, you're feeling anxious. Usually the breath is getting really tight and shallow and up in the chest. Um, and what we need to do in that moment, as soon as you notice that you've been hit, is breathe. Deep, deep, deep breath. First of all, the breath is something you always have with you. So we need to pause and not just go into reaction at that moment, and we can do this right now. Take a deep breath right into your belly, all the way down, and then release. And we'll do that 2 more times. Beautiful. A deep, deep breath in the belly, letting your breath expand, and then release again. And this brings, and another breath deep in. This brings in your rest and digest. It brings in the parasympathetic mode, and it gives your brain space to come up with another mode of responding rather than just automatic reaction. So the breath is the first step. The second step is on your exhale. You take your attention and energy down to your feet, and you can do that now. You can wiggle your toes so you feel your feet. And then imagine roots going down into the earth, through the floor, down through the layers of the foundation, all the way down through into this deep, moist earth. And you connect to Mother Nature, because Mother Nature and Earth is always there for you. Gravity is always here. It's steadfast, it's grounding, and it's relaxing. When you come into connection with something bigger than you are, that is the beautiful goddess of the planet, you can feel your energy just going into the center of the earth. And then as you breathe in, you draw the energy back up through the roots into your feet and bring it up into your body, and your breath can settle and you feel a lot better, right? And then the third aspect is to build an energetic boundary. So we have breathe and then ground, and the third is build an energetic boundary. So we're not needing to have food do that for us. So with that, I'm just going to have you imagine that surrounding you, it's kind of like you're a yolk inside an egg, right? And you can imagine the shell around you, this bubble around you. And in the workshop we'll do more of this, but basically really feel what it's like to be surrounded behind you, in front of you, underneath you, by a bubble of goodness. And you can fill that with light, fill it with color. You can sense the vibration of it. It's shimmering. A lot of times it's kind of a pearlescent shimmer, whatever color feels juicy for you and luscious. And just imagine that that's protecting you. So you're not needing to use food. Because the thing is, with food, what we do is we try to ground with food because it brings our energy down and in. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing that consciously with a grounding practice. And then as you breathe in the earth energy, and then you surround yourself with this beautiful bubble. And it's a force field, right?
Right.
And so what comes in, it's just anything that comes towards you just gets to bounce off.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can do another practice that's really fun, is just basically is you can push your hand out like this and say, whatever's coming in, you return to sender.
Yeah.
Like mail, hey, you just go back to where you came from. I'm not taking it on. And that's a beautiful way to kind of free yourself from the excess intensity that you can tend to absorb. Yeah.
Yes, that's great. And yeah, there is a thing of it. Yeah, return to sender. And sometimes if you think about if you sent out a bad thought or something to somebody and they didn't
Mhm.
receive it, it comes back to you. And one of my teachers says like tenfold. So you need to be aware of what you're also sending out, because if it's not received, it's coming back to you. So if you're having a negative day, you might want to think about what energy you're putting out.
Good point. And the whole piece is to have, Chris, to have enough resilience inside so that whatever's coming towards you, you can, you can handle basically.
Mhm.
But also, I love that you brought up the inner world, because this is really, it's our challenge for most of us, and definitely for those of us who are sensitive, because what we do is we, again, take it inward. We think there's something wrong with us, right? So we feel personally, we take it personally. So a big piece that we need to do is create safety in our bodies in this moment. Safety. So basically, we relax, right? And turn on the rest and digest, which is the deep breath, and, getting cozy and feeling safe. And then our forebrains right here can think clearly. And then we can bring in the divine inspiration,
Mhm.
instead of being just a puppet and a victim of whatever's going on outside or inside us, right? So can I show you a painting that speaks to that? I think it just
Yes, yes, please
it
do.
shows you.
Love to see
I
your
did it
art.
called. This is called Safety. If you can see that, and
Yes.
it's basically this protection from the thorns of life. She's inside a cactus flower, and just shows you this feeling of I can protect myself, and I can have a cozy place to go to. There's lots of ways to do that. Um, and and there's nothing wrong with me. I just need to manage my energy.
Mm-hmm. And
So
that's yeah, perfect to say. Nothing wrong with me. And to forgive ourselves, that because we make mistakes, but having that loving, surrounding yourself with the love for yourself, not from others, from yourself, and to forgive yourself.
totally, totally.
Yeah.
And that way we can step into the next level, which is sovereignty. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when we're not busy defending and, trying to, how to say, apologize for our sensitivities and feel shame, the next level is sovereignty, which is a beautiful word because it's really about staying connected to the earth and to the sky above, through the central channel, and being absolutely, how to say, in integrity, right? I have another painting that shows that. So I'll show you right here, it's called Dragon Queen. There we go. And she's stepping out from a city into her own power, and she has the lioness to ground her, and then also the owl is a symbol of wisdom. And then the dragon above is her sovereign power that can come when we are self-regulated, when we feel connected to our prefrontal cortex, and then we breathe and we're relaxed. That's what happens, is we can step forward in sovereignty,
That's a
which is
beautiful
amazingly
painting.
cool. I just have to tell you.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing your art. It's just beautiful. And I know you also have the beautiful art of vegetables and women dancing on vegetables and fruits is great, like reminders of eating healthy. Well, one of the things you mentioned was the neural pathways. Like we're trying to, and what you're working with people is rewiring our neural pathways. So say a
Mhm.
little bit more about that.
So important, and I'm really glad you mentioned. You know, especially again, as sensitives, when we are just kind of trying to defend ourselves, I think I mentioned, we are often operating from what I call the back brain, which is the fight or flight mode. And what that does is it does a lot of things to our physiology. It depletes our immune system. It makes us be on hyper alert. And just again, a moment of self-compassion for anyone who's had trauma in their background. Trauma tends to make us hyper alert, right? We're always looking out for the next danger. So when that keeps coming into our physiology, it creates basically disease, which is really difficult, because we're always operating from fight or flight. So the rewiring process is about, again, the breath can help us go there in a second. It can help shift from fight or flight into rest and digest, from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic. I like to think of sympathetic as S, right? Stress. Parasympathetic as P, and so that's peace, which comes, taking a breath. And, for sure, if you do that even before you eat, it's a really cool thing to do because it'll settle your nervous system down and also prepare your body for digestion. Because,
Oh, yeah.
when you take a breath, what you do is you're bringing in more oxygen. So you're firing up your burning power because you need oxygen and fuel to burn, right? So again, rewiring your neural pathways has to do with, anytime that you notice that activation, when it's either, they say it's either a real or imagined threat. So you can talk yourself into being in fight or flight pretty easily just by thinking of all the things that are overwhelming, So what we need to do is, again, practice the breath. And probably a lot of women listening are already doing spiritual practices, connecting to having an altar, connecting to meditation, anything that just quiets that nervous system response is going to rewire your neural pathway. And one more thing about that is that if you stay with a positive thought and you stay with a breath for 12 seconds or more, you start to go down a different pathway. It's the repetition of our nervous system getting activated that keeps us on that loop. But when we kind of shift and consciously go toward another, to bring our attention to something, again, the divine really helps because we're connecting to something bigger than ourselves. We just go down another pathway. It rewires our brain. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, and it takes practice.
Oh yeah.
Again, compassion with yourself of, well, okay, I didn't quite do it right today, but there's another day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Especially
And every breath is an opportunity to practice.
yeah.
Every breath. So how many 20,000 breaths a day?
Mm.
A deeper breath is going to settle everything down and, not an emergency. So one of the things I'm going to be sharing in the workshop is the process that I call SELF, SELF. SELF is stop, evaluate your energy, let it go, basically, let it go of something that's not yours. And F is fill yourself up with something that's luscious, that's good.
Great. Well, it's yummy. Yeah. And fill yourself, instead of, hitting that bag of chips and there you've gone through the whole bag of chips, breathe, forgive yourself.
Yeah.
And then maybe eat an apple.
Come back to the moment and see what would be life enhancing,
Yeah.
And it may not be that if you're not hungry, then you're hungry for something else.
Mm-hmm.
Hungry for an empath, right? Or a sensitive, you could be very much hungry for, give me a break, alone time, right? Because what does the food do? In that moment, you're just like, Oh, great. The world can go away. I can escape. It's just me and the food. Your kids are yelling, your husband's cranky, your best friend, has trouble, and everything else can go away when you're with the food. So we do that, and if you eat enough, you create enough of a buffer with your fat, right? That it keeps everything out, or it's an attempt to do that.
Yes.
But when we do that consciously, we don't have to use food
Mm-hmm.
to do that for us. And what it's actually trying to do is ground us, because the food goes down. And if we could ground ourselves consciously,
And
then
it's a
we
way of avoiding the feelings, that's the sensitive
totally.
person. Well, all of us, we have feelings, is to think about, okay, what am I avoiding and scared to look at or scared to feel, and just,
Right.
take courage to allow yourself those feelings
Yeah.
and breathe while you're doing that. Well, that has been great, Robin. I would love for you to say more about, well, how your workshop fits with our theme. I'm asking every presenter because everybody has a take on that. Celebrating the spirit of women, united we are one.
Oh, what a great title. I love that. Celebrating the spirit of women, united we are one. Couple things, just how it relates to being sensitive is, you know, we as sensitive, we're feelers. So we've got our antenna up and we are feeling what's happening. And the very cool thing about it is we already know that we're interconnected. That's just a given for somebody who's sensitive, right?
Mhm.
So the beautiful thing about that is we're um, united, you know, in our nervous system. So with all the drawbacks, the positive thing is that we can be leaders in the new paradigm that I believe you and I know, and others probably listening to this call. There is something new arising on the planet. The feminine is rising. Yay. And so and so with that, we as sensitives have a particular place to be holding that frequency of interconnection, because we already embody that and we already know it. So when we actually can not be ashamed of it, right, but actually bring it forward as a light, I call it, the way I like to see it is it's our light side of our moon. Is this sliver of the moon, we can always look at our shadows, right? But our light side is our interconnectedness, and united we are one, united we already know it as sensitives. And so the beautiful thing is, let's celebrate that, let's not be ashamed of that. Let's celebrate that and bring it forward as what is needed on this planet right now. And together, it's so much easier to know, and we'll do this in the workshop, that you are not alone in your sensitivity. It's really helpful, really helpful. And that you have a part to play on the unfolding of new consciousness. And evolution is taking us there. It's
Mhm.
Homo noeticus. I don't know if you've heard that term, but
No.
oh, great term. Barbara Marx Hubbard is saying this,
Yeah.
that instead of we're evolving from Homo sapiens, which is basically being driven by our back brain in fight or flight,
Mhm.
we are now moving in evolution towards Homo noeticus, the new human. Our brains are not growing in size, but we are coming more and more into our prefrontal cortex, which means that we are able to think creatively. We're able to see ourselves as unified. It's not an us versus them mentality that
Mhm.
we've been on for past 4 years. Um, it's this, I am united, and what's my part to play on this expansion? And I'm here for the positive, for growth. And I want everybody to succeed and grow. Yeah,
That's
that's what
great.
this.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah. Thank
Lots
you.
of good wisdom, and I recommend people to show up for Robin's workshop. And can you give your website where people can find out more about you?
Yeah, let me just first say the The actual time on the Women of Wisdom is March 12th from 3 to 5, just to
Mhm.
let people know. And my website is becominglighter.com. And if you wanted to see more of my art, Women Dancing with Vegetables, it's dancingwithvegetables.com. And I always give a free session for people who are interested in the coaching work that I do. So
Great. Yeah. So becominglighter.com. Okay. And also check out the Woman of Wisdom website
yeah,
to for our schedule and all the presenters and workshops and panels and wonderful things we're having March 11th through the 14th. Just go to womanofwisdom.org. Okay, well, Robin, you're the last workshop presenter for my interviews. So um, now it's moving on to looking forward to mid-March.
I look forward to it. And by the way, I've been involved with the Women of Wisdom since the beginning, 29 years. And it is one of my favorite things for the whole year. I look forward to it.
Oh, thank you.
Such a great thing. And thank you, Chris, and all of the people who put it together. Just awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you for all your work for WOW. And I know your art has graced our covers many, many times.
It's been an honor.